Hey guys, it's Angel. Welcome back to the channel. And yes, sitting before us is the long-awaited Microprose B17. Microprose, of course, legends of the B17 game and the World War II aviation game from their own titles. Now we have one for Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. We're here at Duxford, and this is their early access B17G. We're going to take a good crawl over this and take a good look around her, because this is a highly anticipated aircraft. And I'm quite excited to see it too, because this is something very special. Now, I will phrase this first off by saying this is early access. I paid for this myself. It is released today. And on the screen now, you'll see the roadmap for them. Now, we're at initial release here. Basic systems, initial flight model, full crew, first pass animations, prototype and initial testing of the clipboard system, 6 liveries, including a bit of lace here. We've got Eager Beaver and a few others. And update 1 is bug fixes, texture improvements. They've already made some. System update is update 2, bug fixes, texture improvements, system updates. Again, just progress with the aircraft. Same with 3. Now, the final release will include a full crew configuration system, maintenance mode, optional modern avionics that will most likely be a GPS or some modern radios you can insert into it for a aircraft flying today, a paint kit, and then there'll be improvements. So there'll be new features, bug fixes, systems tuning. So this is not finished. This is barely even alpha. Now, this is $24.99 from Just Flight. It's the early special offer price. Now, we have the flight model. We have authentic 3D model with handcrafted 4K PBR text. The usual spiel we get from developers. Not important. Realistic WY's engine and cockpit sounds recorded from the real aircraft. That's going to be one we'll look at. Visible wear and tear. We'll see. Engine vibration, startup smoke. Authentic liveries, more to follow. Systems and customization via Sim Clipboard. Those are for 1.0. And optional avionics, yada yada yada. Toggleable. Now, the early access one, of course, we've got the flight model, we've got the textures, we've got the initial build, sounds, work in progress, not finished sounds, the liveries, and simple crew customization. So, let's take a look at this aircraft, shall we? And as we have a bit of a wander around here, we'll talk about the B-17 in general. It's a 4-engine heavy bomber, as you might have guessed looking at it. Developed in the 30s, so it's actually quite an old aircraft for the US Army Air Corps. Fast and high-flying bomber, it dropped more bombs than any other aircraft during the Second World War, primarily in the European theatre. I will say, textures are not terrible. That leading edge is a bit square, if I'm honest. It's looking quite sharp, actually, on the polygon count. But textures aren't terrible. Not fantastic yet, but this is early access, so I have to give them some credit. It's not insane, but it's definitely not bad. Body looks a lot better. Definitely seeing some relief there from those rivets, looking rather nice, catching the light. So I like to see. Good normal mapping on an aircraft makes a big difference. Glass materials look pretty good, actually. So, over 12,500 of these were built, used by the US Army Air Force, by the Royal Air Force, and a few others. Between 1936 and 1945 they were produced, and it developed into, of course, the 307 Stratoliner, which is fun. Now, a B-17G, which is what this model is powered by 4 Wright R1820 Cyclones, my favourite engine. Obviously, they're in the DC-3. They put out 1,200 horsepower each, with 3-bladed Hamilton standard props. Max speed of 249 knots, cruise speed of 158, that's more for economy and weight. There's the turbo superchargers underneath the engines there. Range is about, well, it does depend, 1,700 nautical miles with 6,000 pounds of bombs. That's, of course, a round trip. And ferry range of about 3,200 nautical miles, so she can go pretty far. Now, this version, of course, has the glass windows here in the waist positions. Not all of them had that. Some of them were open in that portion, actually. So it did depend. Now, one thing you'll notice here is this red writing. Now, this is stamping on the aluminium. Now, a lot of these aircraft were painted inside, and you didn't see that. And even then, when it was actually bare metal inside them, it wasn't that shiny. You didn't see it that obviously. So this is something they have themselves toned down already. That was in their original work. They have made it less so. In fact, I've got original pictures I'm looking at right this second from manufacture. And this is an actual original picture with a bunch of... In fact, you know what, I'll include this. I don't think I can include this. It's not mine to actually show. An original picture from manufacturer at Boeing. 3 women working on the aircraft, building it, actually putting in the waistgun positions, in fact. And you cannot see any of that material inside there. So, yeah, I don't... That's one thing that put me off in the pictures they previewed. In theory, it's technically not wrong. It's the aluminium stamping. It was on some of them. I think it looks terrible, artistically speaking. You don't see it in the pictures, and I don't see it in this exact picture of a bare one that's been skinned and is currently interior empty otherwise beyond its spars and ribs. So it's one thing I'm not a huge fan of. Otherwise, modelling looks pretty decent on the aircraft. Also, the ball turret's actually got quite a lot of detail down there. Let's hop inside, shall we? Now, one thing here, tyre is full pressure. Those would be kind of floppy. Or at least pushing down with weight and bulging out. It is a little bit. Okay, yeah, no, that is a little bit. I'll give them some credit there. There's some deformation. Let's go inside, shall we? Now, we are in the interior. Now, my first interesting thing is that there's not a lot clickable inside this cockpit. Some things are, some things are not. Can't remove the yokes. The clipboard here gives us basically 2 options at the moment. We cannot make them ready for combat, but we can enable visibility. Which is odd because they're there. Now, the crew visibility, I'm assuming, is interior visibility, not exterior, because they're actually visible everywhere else in the aircraft. It's just the co-pilot that is selectable for this. So, yeah. Derek, our co-pilot, is only visible with that checklist. We'll leave Derek off for now, because Derek can be annoying. Cockpit-wise, though, some things are clickable. But weird enough, things like caging the artificial horizon, not clickable. Shooting in the gyro, not clickable. A lot of things in here are not clickable. The flap selector is not clickable. We can do some basic things. There's not a lot of placards set. When they said this is early access, they meant early access. In fact, much to my personal chagrin, and this is another thing that wouldn't be a thing here. You can see the interior is painted in the cockpit, olive drab, and you can still see aluminium stamping, which would not be visible past the paint. Now, one thing that bugs me here is the starters. They can't actually mesh. Now, this would typically be an inertial starter. You'd wind it up to speed, and you could then mesh that inertial starter to the actual engine. This is one toggle for all of it, and it just starts. Now, this is early access. It's not an advanced system that's been implemented yet, but it is what it is currently. Now, this is... I've never seen that behave that way, to be fair, where it kind of scrolls up and down. Now, I've seen it change the reading, but it's normally the same indicator and the same... See, this is just changing the colour of it, which is quite strange, because that should be changing the level dependent on the tank. So if I was to go to my fuel tanks here, it's only showing main tank right and left. It's not showing... So if I just drop this one here, that's just changing a colour, like a texture. It's not actually changing anything particular there, which is weird. Because that should be showing a difference. Interesting. And the tank setup isn't correct right now, but obviously it's early access. And down here, we've got fuel shutoff valves. We've got booster valves here. Those are all wonderful. Got the magnetos. We've got the crash bar there. Everything else down here, again, not clickable yet. Hopefully will be. Again, early access, so hard to really tell. With our tail wheel lock there, so we unlock that one. Autopilot functions do not work right now. Now back here, we have the position of our upper gunner, but we do not have the navigator station yet. Now we're going to go back through bomb bay. Of course, a bomb's here. Not a full load. Hopefully that will be something that changes, always changeable. I'd like to be able to open these interior doors as well, because having them just fixed is not that wonderful. So navigator station here. And all these doors are closed. So there's the ball turret here. There's our waist gun. This is what I mean about stamping. Now, the picture I've seen from this position is actually taken the camera from back here. And it shows the women working on these these waist turret mounts. And not only is the mounting different there, it's actually a plate there rather than a bucket. But it could be an earlier version before they changed it, of course. But the collector isn't there. It's actually like a platform. And none of the stamping is visible on the aluminium. So the actual real aluminium in the aircraft, this didn't show. That's one thing that really bugs me. I dislike that a great deal. Now, there's the interior door. And I do want these to be workable because little things like doors, chocks, tie-downs, they're all important, especially with a historical aircraft like this. To me, it'll be very important to have it. So the door here to the tail is closed. There he is. One of the escape hatches there. There we go. Hello, buddy. So the modelling is very good. I actually do like what they've done with this. And it looks very nicely detailed. We've even got the sight in there too. Incredible angle to see the aircraft from here. So yeah, there's definitely progress to be made. I'll go down inside the front here. I'm mostly spending our time looking around the aircraft because it's early access and I want to see what we can see. I am excited about the texture quality and the modelling detail. It's very, very exciting. There's a lot going on, but there aren't a lot of things to show you yet in terms of systems. That's the problem. So that's the chin turret control, by the way. So that controls those guns down there, here. They'd be sighted with that, and they're firing remotely. And obviously the bomb sight is here, the Northern bomb sight. Almost feels like this. Actually, this almost does feel like the gun position, doesn't it? In fact, you might actually recognise this gun position. This seated position here with the turntable positioning with that control in front of you from the Millennium Falcon. Yes, you might recognise it because they use the same actual control system for the gun. Anyway, moving on. And detailing is good. Fabrics look great, fantastic. Really like some of this stuff. They've done a nice job with it. The cables running through here as well are pretty cool to see, holding up the gun, which there would be cables there. Basically just like a bungee. It's not actually meant to hold it fully in position, but it's there to hold it to level so you can have it held up. Either way, I want to see more of this stuff function and work. That would be really nice to have that be a thing. Obviously, probably along part of the plans. Here is, by the way, the hatch up to the cockpit. Pops up between the feet there. I want to see these things work. I think that would be a... Oh, hey, it does nice. Okay, cool. So that one does, but I can't, for example, open the door back through the bomb bay. That's not clickable at all. I'm discovering things as we go, I think, here. Obviously not much material to go with it yet. Not an opening side windows does bug me slightly, but let's get ourselves in position here, shall we? So, mags are on. Those did not move, by the way, with that. Make sure these are in the right spot as we look down here. Yeah, they're on both. So fuel boosters to on. Okay. And it should be now a matter of, unfortunately, I hate to do this. This is the starter right now at this early access stage. Oh, I need to make sure the mixture's on. Are you sure you're on? Wow, this is embarrassing considering I just did it. So I need to put these back into auto mixture section there. That is where it needs to be. Those are all in the open position. Okay, so it should be fairly... Oh, I'm an idiot. Excuse me. Did I actually disable that? I did. Yeah, that's me. So no smoke yet, but the startup is okay. Right, unfortunately, this is the part I don't like, is... This is how we start. It's throwing the mesh as well. It's a simplified system, obviously. That's kind of expected. As our cowl flaps, by the way. Let's throw this one closed. I thought I was closing it, but apparently I'm not. They just sit there like flappy cowls. Or Simon Cowles. Did you know he's actually related to the inventor of the cowl flap? That's why it's called the cowl flap. It's not. No, it's not true. In the slightest. Obviously, intercooler temperatures will need to be controlled by those levers down there. Those are all a factor 2. Everything else is looking good. Let's throw engine 4. Ah, it hurts my soul to start an engine that way, but... Oh, now we get smoke from an engine. Interesting. Just one. And again, the smoke effects seem to be misaligned so far. Sounds are not awful, but they're not great either. Hello. We'll need to stop you walking away. There we go. They sound okay. They don't sound that meaty, but they don't sound... Something sounds off. They sound very flat at the top end. Okay. Let's position ourselves here. Let's go take her for a fly and see what we can do with this aircraft, shall we? There we go. Let's turn using our throttles here, which is quite necessary with a big aircraft like this. Idle out the left engines, push to the right. So obviously, this is very early access. And by very, I mean we're talking first flyable alpha, really, in this case. With textures and some functional instrumentation, because it's not... Am I even on the taxiway here? Yes, I am. Okay. So one thing that does bug me is the flaps. Watch this. 1-notch flaps, 2-notch flaps, 3-notch flaps, 4-notch flaps, 5-notch flaps, 6-notch flaps. The real B17, I should be able to hold down the flap lever and it should go like that, right? That was me holding it down. Now, that shouldn't basically have steps. It should be a case of down then up. And that should be it. Okay. Stop, please. Let's get turned around. Okay. Recenter ourselves on the runway here. That tail wheel's not doing a lot for us right now. Okay. Let's go to war, shall we? This sounds odd, I will say. Now, my comparisons, by the way, for this, I have no actual B17 time, as you might imagine, but my comparisons... Oh, tail comes up. That's a little bit weird, given that I should be coming off in a 3-point configuration. There we go. Now, all my references for how the B-17 should operate and fly come from a reliable source. That reliable source is the A2A Accurasim B-17, which I think we can all, without fear, argue is the most faithful representation of a B-17 to date. Sounds very different to this, considerably different, and this isn't quite how 2800s, 1820s sound. And I've also been around Sally B in real life, so I know how she sounds. Now, Bassingbourn should be just down the way here. In fact, it's, I think... Melbourne's over there. So Bassingbourn is one of these. But yeah, this isn't quite the right sounds. In fact, I think that's Bassingbourn there. I might be wrong. There's a good chance I'm wrong. But I know it's one of these villages along here. Could be that one. Bassingbourn, of course, home to a major base of B-17s during the war. But yeah, this will be it over here. Off to the side of the village. So, oh, interesting. I can see the ground through the aircraft at some angles there, through the top position. You can see it there, see? So that's a bit of a whoopsie-doodle. Now, no controls for things like the bomb bays yet, and other factors in this aircraft. So that's something obviously we'll come and see with later iterations. Is this the right village? I don't think it is the right village. It's one of them. Oh, there we are. I see it. A lot of these Cambridgeshire villages all look very much similar. They're all just about doing the same thing. We'll have to turn around and head back towards Duxford in a second. Just head back into the cockpit here. So the sounds are a work in progress, sure. They're getting there. It's certainly not ready yet, but it's not bad. The cowl flaps animations also seem to be missing. Engine power to behaviour is not terrible, but it's also not fantastic either. Behaviour, overall, in terms of its weight and feel, does feel similar to the Accurasim B-17. Like I said, I have no actual B17 experience, but no, I can't find the right village. And this... There it is! Right there. I wanted to find Bassingbourne for you, just so we could see it, and the remains of the base. Which is right there. Yep, there she is. Just out of the co-pilot's top window. So the modelling of this is really stunning. I do like how the modelling looks. The modelling looks fantastic. And to me, that's a big part of how an aircraft's going to look. And I know they've got grand plans for how it's going to function and behave. And I'm excited to see that. Right now, obviously, it does feel very, very, very early. It feels very unfinished. Which it is. That's okay. A lot of these things aren't as they're going to be. And that's reasonably understandable. But I'm getting a little bit bugged about early access. Now, there she is. That's the remains of Bassingbourne. Unfortunately being used for storage and for warehouse purposing. Two parts of the original runways, some of the original dispersals here. RAF Bassingbourne. Would have housed plenty of B-17s during the war. Right, let's get ourselves back towards Duxford here. Find the right A road. And we should be okay. Right, where are we now? I see. Head back towards the M11. We're be heading east from here, so a little bit round. Well, we are going about the right way. Pull up the map for just a second to make sure we are. That's the wrong thing. That's just this. Flight planner. That's what we wanted. Would you like to show the current location? Thank you. That'll be us down there. That's Falmere. It's Duxford down there. Okay. So the sounds, yeah, obviously work in progress, not quite there yet, but not atrocious, just not good. As for its behaviour, well, it's within range of what I'd expect. Clickability functionality, I would have expected more to be available at this stage in terms of animations and function. If they're going to be at a stage where they're releasing it, this is fine if this is an alpha, but to release this aircraft to the public for money, I would have expected it to be at a much more functional and, dare I say, playable state. Because you are selling a product to a consumer, and yes, it is early access, but you're also selling it to be a functional experience that you can enjoy early. Whilst this does work, a lot of its abilities do not. And to me, that seems a little bit short of where I'd have got it out the door. I might have waited for another pass or two to do this. Right. Okay, speed is, as you can tell, not that high, but not great. But we'll drop our wheels now. Put our one notch of flaps. Just make sure mixture and props are set where they need to be. A little bit of power here. Maintain our speed. More flaps. We're a little low, so I'm going to try and maintain this altitude before we come around to the final approach. Engine drone does sound off for this RPM, but I suspect a lot of the low-end sound isn't actually added in there yet. But it feels off to my ear from both the real B17 and the Akisim, and my knowledge of the 1820. Here we are. A little bit of buck from Masters of the Air, shall we throw it to a side slip? Make our side slip approach the runway in 70 mile an hour winds, or 50 mile an hour winds, as it was in Greenland. I think I'll definitely take this from the US to Greenland on one trip once it's ready, or at least in a much more flyable state in the autopilot functions, because there's no way I'm hand flying this across from America to Greenland. We'll do St. John's to Greenland to Iceland and to Scotland. So we're going to bring her in now, nice and gentle. Reducing power. Let the nose settle here. Little bit of trim. Nice and gentle. Little bit low. Bit of power. Hold the nose, which is wobbling a touch. That's okay. Hold the nose here. Watching my reference. Powering back. We had touchdown, but there's no sounds from touchdown there. So either that was the world's smoothest touchdown in history, which I doubt, or we're missing a lot of the external additional sounds. So we are in the cockpit. Okay. Flaps coming up. Free up the tail wheel here. Now, obviously, B-17 is a 1930s design that fought in the 1940s war. This is why things like the B-29 came along. Why things like the Liberator, in fact, were better designs for what they were doing. Would I purchase this in this state? Yes, because right now it's the only B-17 we have. And it's actually not that bad. It's rather nice. I do like it. It's less functional than I was hoping for. I knew it was early access, but I was expecting more to work. Also, there better be sliding windows in this thing when it's finished. I swear to God. You had better give me sliding windows, or I will have a hissy fit. But it is nice that it works in the state it does. I'm looking forward to it being more completed. I like what we have, and I'm excited to see the future, and I'm looking forward to their updates. As you saw from the start, they're looking at every, basically, 2 weeks for a update. Now I'm just going to push up engine 4 here. Get us turned around. Stand on my left brake. Come on, baby, let's go. There we go. I'm sure we'll see community paint schemes once this is ready. And I look forward to seeing what they can be. There we go. Put our parking brake on here. And we are done. So, yeah. Absolutely got potential, as I've parked on top of this poor Rans. That's not a Rans, it's an extra. Never mind. Well, it's got extra now. We saw the B-17 landed on another B-17. Now we've got one that landed on extra. Now it's got an attached sports car. I think it has plenty of potential. I don't think it's ready to really be an actual public alpha yet, but it's looking good, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And there's a number of things I'd like to see change. The sounds don't quite feel right. The markings on the interior for the aluminium stamping is terrible. Go away. Animations for ancillary things. When you make a warbird, it's all about the feeling. So give us more feeling as well as just the function. That'll be a big thing. I like what they're doing with the textures. They're clean, they're simple, but they're effective. I'm liking the level of detail they've included in the model. I like their intention with what they've got on their roadmap in terms of what they want it to have and to behave through. But make sure we have the functional and playable things too. I want to see things like chocks, prop covers. I want to see, you know, the actual ground tools we have from 24. Use 24's features. That'll be exciting. And if you could basically put modern instruments in there, I would like us to be able to at least also have an option to see the modern, your choice of sim pilot in there too. That would be nice. Not required, but nice. If you're going to basically let us fly to the restored warbird, let us do just that. Well, I'm looking forward to give you some updates when we see new versions of this, and as we get updates. So this is just my look at the initial one. I like it. I think it has a lot to do, but I like it. Thanks for watching. Bye.